Science is what you know. Philosophy is what you don't know. Bertrand Russell. During our short walk and an elevator ride, Candy Pop talking about some of the medical procedures she was learning from Lifebeat. I had given up thinking that it was weird, and chose to enjoy learning about things I never wanted to witness myself. As it turns out, despite how safe the R&D was, a lot of ponies get badly hurt here, and Lab C had a whole medical area ready for the worst injuries. Lifebeat and Candy Pop were in Labs B as a first response team, and focus on more stabilizing a badly hurt pony before sending them to Lab C.
And because of all that, any kind of grenade is now banned from the stable,
Candy Pop said, opening the door to the atrium. Fortunately, this time it was only filled with a few full colts and fillies. Most of them were older than the mob that had climbed all over me yesterday, and were more concentrated around the arcade.
Hey there, Slow Trot. I gotta show those little ponies that not all of us adults suck at arcade games.
I watched. Candy Pop trotted off to the arcade with a bounce in her step. Looking around, not much else was going on in the atrium. There was a pony reading a book in the lounge, and two other ponies had just left one of these sports rooms on the second floor. The round window from the overmare's office overlooked the atrium. The dark window reminded me of Probitor's request. Looking around the arcade, the small crowd of foals had gathered around the arcade machine that Candy Pop was on. It was a fighting game I saw last night. A filly playing agents against Candy stood on a stool trying to reach the controls properly. Candy was playing as a light gray Pegasus mare that moves awkwardly even when standing still, and had a muffin on her head. The filly was playing as a yellow earth pony mare. The main character reminded me of a farm ponies with their big tan hat. The match ended quickly, with Candy showing no mercy. The gray Pegasus character dodging most attacks and landing long combos. The Pegasus attacks were weak, but Candy's opponent only managed to get in 2 strong hits, with the Pegasus seemingly dancing around the screen. The next opponent was a colt, who picked a purple unicorn for his fighter. Candy had a flawless victory. The next colt had a much better luck with a blue Pegasus, but Candy still won with half her character's health intact. Feeling that it was better to leave before I was her next victim, I tried out of sight to the arcade. It was not that I didn't want to play the game, I just didn't want to play it and be crushed in less than a minute. It's what I didn't like about playing fighting games in our arcade. Some other pony always had to come in and make me waste my bits by crushing me like the newbie I was. If I wanted to play the game, I'd have to wait till Candy Pop was finished, and the fools were off doing something else. Looking back up at the overmare's window, I figured that picking up whatever Probator would be a good way to pass the time. The hallway to the overmare's office was, though well lit, made me feel uneasy. I could only guess it was because of how quiet everything was on my way here. Most of the ponies here must work in the labs, so residential probably emptied out during these hours. What made my uneasiness worse was that Probator was waiting for me in front of the room with the overmare's office. It was as if it was not for her lab barding, her pitch black mane and coat would have made her look like a shadow in the hallway. Her golden eyes looked over at me with an impatient stare, reminding me of a few employers I had that were dissatisfied with how fast I could work at times.
Good. Good. It is about time that you showed up,
she spoke. Yet it seemed that her mouth didn't move.
Now we can get to business.
If you were going to be here, then why have me come at all? Seeming like something more than just strange about the mare, couldn't put my hoof on it though. And what is it you need me to pick up? She looked back at the door.
If I told you, it would ruin the surprise. And if I ruined the surprise, then it would be no fun at all.
Yep, this mare was on the crazy train. It was just a question of if she was at the caboose or the engine. Not wanting to have a crazy mare be in my way, upset with me when I was stuck down here, I felt it was probably best to do what she said. Whatever she wanted, it couldn't do much harm, if the stable is full of professionals. Walking to the door, I pressed the button to open it. It opened with a soft hiss, and not the same buzz as before. "Oh, healing herbs. You mustn't be so forgetful in locking your door." Her voice had a slight giggle to it. "Now, let's go. This will only be a moment." None of her hoof steps seemed to be non-existent as she walked into the dark room. Stepping in myself, things didn't look any different from the last time I was here. The only big difference was that Healing Herbs was not here sleeping on her desk, and 3 empty soda bottles were lying on the desk. A large terminal stood behind the desk along the wall. Its 4 monitors were on, but had nothing on their screen. It gave off a green glow from the screen, giving the room an eerie feeling to it. Probator trotted up to it, beckoning me to follow her with a hoof. Closer, the large terminal looked quite imposing. Unlike June's terminal, it looked like the kind a super smart ponies would have. The Overmare's terminal had more of a command and control feel to it. It made me wonder if there were cameras everywhere here to observe everything. "So, where's this thing you want?" "You did say I would know when I see it." I gave the room a quick glance, but nothing really screamed crazy mare to me. "But I don't think I see it." She pointed her hoof at the terminal. "It's inside of this. You just need to hook up your pip-buck to it, and I'll do the rest of the work." Finding a cable already connected to the terminal, I placed my pip-buck hoof near it. If it turns out this is something I shouldn't be doing, I'm yanking this out on the spot. The whole request was really not sitting right with me, but I was sure that if this was wrong, at least the others would hear me out. Ironbuck, plug the cable into the pip-buck. Soft green glow enveloped the cable and opened a panel in the upper part of the pip-buck. Connecting the pip-buck to the terminal, the magic faded off. "Now, Mr. Slowtrot. Simpleton Slowtrot. You will do no such thing. And do you want to know why you'll not?" Her voice took a sharp, irritated turn. Not liking her tone, I put my leg away from the terminal, but found myself unable to move, not even able to respond, or blink. "And that's because I will it. Just like how I can control how much you remember, and how much you forget." She paused for a moment to grin. "How amazing pip-bucks are. So useful, so full of secrets. Did you know that you can tap into EFS of another pip-buck? Actually see the world through another's eyes. Same with the medical program, being able to feel everything they feel. But the one thing you can't really do, you can't get right, is get into their thoughts. Except for the one on your leg." She pulled herself nose to nose with me. "With that pip-buck, I can get right in. No need to fuss around with dreams or to whisper sweet lies. I can just dive in and take what I want." The memories flooded back in, her true form now fresh in my mind and fueling how helpless I am. The stillness of my body was frightening, feeling the opposite of when I was stuck in Thorn's memory. I had no control, but this time I was not moving. But why? Why did she want me to come here, all the way on my own, if she had such control? She scrunched her nose. "It's because I don't wish for your body, unworthy for one such as I." Mind reading. Already hate it. But still, why not just turn me into a puppet? She already had the power over me, unless she can only stop me from moving. "The prize goes for the simpleton. Yes, I can only stop you from moving. For now. But it matters not. Once the deal is done, you'll be gone from here. And before you ask." One of Sweetie Belle's songs came from the terminal, but unable to see why, all I could do was look at Probator's irritated grin. She sighed, waving a hoof in front of my unmoving eyes. "I am, if anything, fair. For your troubles, I'll let you witness the little secret that you just recovered for me." I found my head free of her control, but to only have it lock up again when I looked at the monitors. For what it was worth, she let the ability to move my eyes and blink. So, count small blessings. The 4 motors had the Stable-Tec logo on each. The music sounding much different than on the radio. It felt sadder than normal. Near the end of the song, the images on the monitors cut out, replaced by one big Stable-Tec logo, only to cut out again and show the image of Sweetie Belle in a plain-looking room. That's enough, Sweetie Belle. I got the camera working. The voice had a faint farmer pony accent to it. Sounded cute, if a bit worn out.
You sure about this, Applebloom? It's not like it'll actually happen.
Through the green of the terminal monitors, I could see that Sweetie Belle looked like she had been crying, her light coat having dark lines under her eyes. A second mare walked onto the screen, an earth pony in a business suit. I felt it was safe to assume that she was Applebloom.
If things don't end as badly as we think it will, then no, it won't. But everything's moving so darn fast, so I have to do this. Can't leave everything to chance, sweetie. That, and if I leave it to Scootaloo, it will. I just have to do it for now.
Sweetie Belle hugged Applebloom. The hug went on for a few long seconds before she broke off and walked off screen. Applebloom, still facing away from the screen, took a deep breath. I could see that she was holding a hoof up chest high, and extending the hoof, she exhaled. Turning around, she had a calm and composed look. Pretty even, but the bags under her eyes were easy to see. I could only guess that Applebloom must not have been sleeping well before she recorded this. Healing Herbs, if you're watching this video, then the Omega level protocol's enacted, and I'm dead. You're now the official overmare of Stable-Tec R&D. She paused to take another deep breath. But you don't need a video for me to explain that to you. And that's not why I'm leaving this to you. This video is my last will, and also a confession of my crimes. Applebloom's voice quivered a bit. You see, I fucked up. I fucked up bad. Just as badly as my sister. Bad as Pinky, Rarity, Twilight. Took another moment to take another deep breath. And now, I'm leaving you to clean up our mistakes. And what's even more fucked up, I probably just got what I had coming to me. Applebloom spent a moment composing herself, slowly taking deep breaths and long exhales. To explain, not all the stables were made to simply save ponies. No, most of the stables are going to fail, and it's my fault for letting it happen. You see, we got in our heads that we could not only just save ponies, but have it so that we got better ponies coming out of the stables generations later. So much precious time that could have gone into helping a stable survive better went into stupid, half-hearted philosophical studies. And that's just the lucky ones. We also made stables that'll fail intentionally. Most of the ones will last at most 50 years before things turn bad. Few have 10 years at best. The mare pulled out a small box with an antenna on it, pressed down on a button. The screens flickered and switched to a map of Equestria. This is where Stable R&D comes in. Many boxes appeared on the map, each one having a number next to it. What I was planning to do was fix this mistake. On this file is the location of every stable in and outside Equestria, along with the passwords to all these doors. I'm also including a list of stables that will be top priority for help. The information on how the stables themselves will fail. The stables that were set up for basic social engineering will be lower on the list, along with the stables that were serving their original purpose. The screen changed to a map of an island. A small square on the map had R&D next to it, along with 2 other squares on the map, one listed as H1 and the other as H2. The reason I picked the Marrowell Islands to do this is because other than the mainland, the rest of the islands will pretty low priority for bombing for the zebras. And to make this effort even more possible from here, I've had the company build 2 underground hangars. Both the hangars were already have an airship stored in them, along with a full crew living there. The hangars themselves can be used as stables, and with the help of R&D, the hangars should be able to support a fair-sized population. So if possible, direct any survivors on the island to the hangars. The video cut back to a stoic-looking Applebloom, though it looked like her mascara was starting to run.
I'm sorry to leave you with this burden. And I'm sure you'll come to hate what I've done. And what I allowed to happen. Stables were meant to save ponies. But I let a stupid idea take over. I turned the stables into something that will only kill more ponies than we could have saved. You can at least correct the mistakes. So please, save as many ponies as you can. Save them from what I doomed them to do. Applebloom stopped to take in a deep breath. Her exhale was more of a deep sigh. Sweetie Belle, turn off the camera. The image on the screen shook a bit, but it still continued. Applebloom turned to the side, taking out a pack of cigarettes, but a ball came flying out and bounced off Applebloom's head. I thought you said you were going to quit smoking. Sweetie Belle's voice was loud through the terminal. I almost said I was going to quit because I thought I was. The video cut out the large Stable-Tec logo for a few seconds, where the monitors faded back to a dull green with the text file deleted, scrolling across. My body suddenly dropped to the floor. Felt good to move again, only a little. Putting myself back up on my hooves, I looked over at Probeater. She was covering her mouth with a hoof, giggling. The giggling itself suddenly burst into full-on laughter. Unplugging myself from the terminal, I saw my pip-buck was on the data screen, listing a bunch of new files on it. It didn't take a genius to understand that anything on the terminal was now my pip-buck. Her laugh came to an abrupt end. Oh, this is perfect. Just too perfect. I was expecting there to be a dirty little secret or two. But the keys to every stable and 2 airships to get to them. It's all too perfect. She looked over at me, a foreboding grin on her face. Now, don't think about deleting anything from that pip-buck. She laughed again. Oh, not that you'll remember about it. Not until that pip-buck is taken off your leg. That, of course, is only for you to remember anything about this at all. And if you do, you'll be long out of the stable. Too far away to even bother me again. She motioned at the door with her hoof. Now be gone. I free you of my service. She vanished before my eyes, becoming part of the darkness and answering question to how he appeared and disappeared suddenly out of nowhere. Seeing that there was nothing left for me to do, the only thing I could do, I left the overmare's office, feeling defeated and powerless. Stepping into the atrium, I couldn't help but feel that I was forgetting something important. Candy Pop was no longer in the arcade, but many of the fools were still playing the fighting game, so I decided to give up the idea of playing it right now. Some of the younger fools were also here, though they didn't seem as energetic as they were yesterday, and fortunately were in a less of a mobbing mood. Hey, Mr. Iron Pony! The squeaky voice sounded familiar. Looking over, I saw a striped unicorn filly trotting over to me. Mr. Iron Pony, over here! She ran in a circle before dashing to the lounge. I felt that I had nothing better to do, so I followed. In the lounge sat Underbrush and Zan. The filly, remembering her name was Hydrenja, rested her hooves on her father's head. Hello, Trot. You have good timing. Come, sit. Zan's friendly demeanor was hard to say no to. It really makes me wonder why Equestria was so dead set on hating zebras. Sitting across from the family, I could see the Underbrush was taking a sip of an A-Lab soda. It looked like self-punishment for drinking that moonshine in the middle of the day. So I'm guessing you already heard about the pip-buck? Zan sighed. The researchers do have loose lips. It's maybe why the stable is in the middle of the Western Ocean. It was likely for an agent from the Solaris company to get to any of the researchers. Oh, Solaris is a rival company. They have some success. From what I've heard, what they make tends to be a catastrophic failure most of the time. Zan chuckled to himself and looked over to Underbrush. Dear, you remember that vacuum you bought from them? The one with the radio in it? Underbrush groaned and shook her head. Yes. Remember how it blew a hole in the wall? What were they thinking selling the thing as a vacuum? What? Do we still have it? Do we? Do we? Do we? Hydrenja
had jumped on her father and was bouncing on the couch in excitement. She found herself suspended in Underbrush's magic to stop her from jumping on the couch anymore. No, it got taken back to the company. It was a really bad idea to give lonely housewives a supersonic weapon in the shape of a vacuum. Poor Mr. Greenspout. He never saw it coming. Placing her filly gently back on the couch again, she had a bit of a confused look on her face. You'll understand when you're older. Well, it was good to know not to buy from Solaris, unless I wanted a weapon that was not made to be a weapon. Killer vacuums aside, what's the likelihood of getting to stick around for a few days? On the beach, I mean. I wouldn't worry about that. The company likes to keep their image as clean as possible, so expect a whole week of sun, sand, and free drinks. There'll be some papers for you to sign, the normal disclosure form kind of thing. But other than that, you will have a good time before going home. Zen's voice had a chuckle to it. That actually sounds better than I thought it was going to be. A whole week, plus the pay June promised that Stable-Tec would give me over the testing. It should at least keep me going for the next year. And then I can get back to doing jobs that will eventually fire me because I suck at them. It was a sad notion that the best paying job I had was being a test subject. And I did it for less than a week. So you're leaving, Slow Trot? Hydrangea was giving me the sad eyes. I'd seen them before, but mostly at other ponies when full, wanting something. But you only just got here. Ah, my heart. If I had a filly like her, I don't think I could say no to anything she asked me to do. I gently ruffled her mane. Sorry, this isn't where I belong. But I might be around for another week, so if you want to hang out, you have to have your parents see if it's alright. I looked up at Zan and Underbrush. Zan looked away, and Underbrush smiled. Hydrangea turned around, looking at her parents with the same watery eyes. Underbrush seemed less fazed by it than Zan was. Underbrush winked at the filly. We're going to be a bit too busy for the next few weeks, but I know Candy Pop and Prancer Dancer are free. We can talk them into taking you to the beach. Maybe you can take some of your friends as well. The energetic filly jumped to her mother, giving her a big hug. Thank you. You're the best mom ever. Now, I didn't like the idea of babysitting a bunch of foals, but I felt like nothing but good could come of it. That, and I probably had a whole week to enjoy myself, so one day looking after a few foals didn't sound so bad. Hydrangea jumped off her mother and then walked over to me, her eyes still wide. I didn't know what she was going to ask me, but I knew she was going to ask something, and it would be complicated to answer. To make matters worse, Tiny Hooves had climbed on my back and jumped over my head with a fluttering sound. A little Pegasus filly fluttered softly to the cushion next to me. Looking quickly around, I had found myself surrounded by foals. They had me perfectly trapped. Waving at the other foals to settle down, Hydrangea had taken control of the group. So, Mr. Slowtrot, because you'll be leaving, can you tell us how you got your cutie mark? Are you talented at riddles? You must be a quizmaster or something, right? I looked over at Zan, but he was chuckling again. I was on my own in the small crowd of foals. Well, nothing exciting. Bet you'll find it boring. The foals looked at each other, then back at me with a skeptical look. There was no way out of this, not without looking like the bad stallion. So I took a deep breath, knowing that all their little eyes were on me. Well, if you insist. Got my cutie mark because of one gloomy day at school. Every pony was unhappy because our teacher was out sick for the week, and the substitute teacher was giving us a big load of busy work to do until he recovered. It was all simple stuff, but sadly I'm not that smart of a pony, nor was I that quick with that kind of work, so I knew I would just fall behind every pony, even if I knew how to do all the work. Because of that, I had to think of a way to get out of the busy work, or my fellow classmates would leave me behind. So I went about thinking about a solution, wailing about the school grounds a few times before coming up with an idea. Hydrangea jumped up, holding a hoof into the air.
Did you think up a devious plot to get out of the work? Did you steal all the answers all super spy-like?
Even I chuckled a bit at that. No? Well, that might have been fun. After spending some time thinking about it, I came to the conclusion that I knew no way about the problem myself. But I did know some pony that would. I went to my teacher's house to ask him. The old stallion was both worried that I had come around when he was still ill, but also happy I had visited him. I was full and, well, expecting him to tell me that I had to do the work. What he did do was give me one of his books, and a note that exempting me from doing the busy work as long as I was reading that book. Stallion knew I didn't like reading. Words get a bit mixed up and when I try, so I felt annoyed about his situation.
Oh, what book was it? Bet it was a diary or dictionary.
A little colt squeaked.
Our teacher does that whenever we try to get out of doing homework.
I waved my hoof at him to sit back down. Well, the book he gave me was Daring Do and the Griffin's Goblet. One of the other fools jumped up.
I've read that one.
She had a prideful looking grin on her face.
No, you didn't. Your mama read it to you.
Another fool had chimed in, stealing the grin from the other fool's face. Clearing my throat to get their attention. So, I gave it a shot. And the substitute teacher didn't really care what I did as long as I was occupied. I'd only gotten halfway through chapter 2 by the time our teacher returned. It took me 4 days to get that far. Not that I would tell any pony that. But when he got back, he told me that I wouldn't get a pass for the week unless I told him what I learned from the book. Sadly, I couldn't think of anything that I learned from it. So, not wanting to look stupid, I asked him if I could finish the book first, then would have an answer.
So that's when you got your cutie mark?
Well, no. He did agree to let me borrow the book until I was finished. So I spent 2 weeks reading the book, and walking around thinking about an answer. When I did return the book, I had 2 answers ready. My first answer was that I learned that he had tricked me into reading a book. The second was that even if I had a hard time reading a book, it'd still be fun if it was a good time. Well, the stallion just laughed and gave me the book Daring Do and the Quest for the Sapphire Shore to read next. Now, I still don't like reading books that much. But a good book, I'll give it a try.
What the hey? When did you earn your cutie mark?
She pointed her hoof at me, looking a bit irritated. I just shrugged. It happened in the second week when I was reading the first book. I didn't even know I had it, and it appeared until another fool pointed it out. Probably had it for a day before knowing it was there.
But then, what does that mean? What's your talent?
She seemed frustrated at my answer. Well, it represents giving things a long thought, about not rushing in and jumping to conclusions, taking things slow and steady till you come to the right answer, or at least the knowledge that you only have the wrong answer. Most of the fools had stopped to take thinking positions for a moment. Hydrangea was first of them to break the pose, jumping off the couch.
Last one on the dance floor is it!
She galloped to the dance room across from the atrium. The rest of the foals became a stampede, chasing after her. Sam burst into laughter. Looks like the last bit of your story went a bit over their heads, Slowtrot. The last thing that filly knows is how to slow down. I laughed along with him. The foals may be a pain, but still kind of fun to be around. Footnote. Quest completed. Classified.